Where do we get our energy? Fossil fuels. For a moment, think about burning wood in a fireplace. The burning wood is converted into light and heat. Light and heat are forms of energy. The fire is a chemical reaction that releases the energy from wood, but how did the energy get into the wood? Where did the energy come from? Well, the wood used to be a tree, and before the tree was chopped down, it was a living plant. It got its energy from the sun, converting sunlight and water into food to grow. It stored that energy in its trunk, leaves, and roots. And when the tree died, the energy didn't just go away, it remained stored in the wood. When we burn something that used to be alive, like wood, paper, or straw, we convert its stored energy into heat and light. A fuel is a substance that provides a form of energy, heat, light, electricity, or motion as a result of chemical change. And when we burn a fuel to release its energy, that is called combustion. That's an important term. Now, a campfire or a fire in a fireplace may be pretty, but you know that it's not what we use for most of our energy. There are other fuels that have far more energy packed into them than wood does. These fuels are called fossil fuels. Like wood, fossil fuels used to be alive. Oh, to be a fossil fuel, you know, that would be cool. They were formed from organisms that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. As these plants, animals, and other living organisms died, their remains piled up. Over millions of years, layers of sand, rock, and mud piled on top of these remains. Heat and pressure slowly changed those substances into new substances, fossil fuels. So in science, you'll see two main things that make a big change. For like rocks, the rock cycle, fossil fuels, and lots of other things, heat and pressure. So things undergo change through a lot of heat and pressure. Heat and pressure, heat and pressure, heat and pressure. Yes, heat and pressure. Now I lost my spot. Okay. Whenever we talk about energy resources in America, we think of fossil fuels. Excuse you. That's because 85% of energy used in America is from burning fossil fuels. Obviously, fossil fuels are important to us. There are some benefits, good things, about using fossil fuels, but there are also some costs, bad things. Whenever we look at energy resources, we need to think about the benefits and costs of using them. One of the biggest problems with fossil fuels is that they are non-renewable. Because they were formed so long ago, we can't make any more. Once we use them up, they're gone. That's what non-renewable means. So it's very important to conserve or use wisely fossil fuels. There are 3 fossil fuels: coal, oil, natural gas. Those are important. Coal, oil, natural gas. Coal, oil, natural gas. Got it, Tegan? Good job. Coal. Coal is a solid fossil fuel formed from ancient plant remains. Until about 1800, humans mostly used wood for fuel. But then the Industrial Revolution began and people couldn't chop down enough wood to power the new machines. They began to dig deep into the earth for coal, which they burned to power the new factories and machinery. Today, 23% of the energy used in America comes from burning coal. Coal has several benefits. First, it's the most plentiful fossil fuel. Second, it's easy to transport by train or truck. Third, it provides a lot of energy when it's burned. But coal also has some costs. For one thing, when it burns, it pollutes the air. Coal mining is dangerous for miners and can cause erosion and damage to the environment. Like all fossil fuels, coal is non-renewable, so if we aren't careful, we could eventually use it all up. Oil. Oil is a thick black liquid fossil fuel. It was formed from the remains of tiny ocean plants and animals. Petroleum is another word for oil, so oil equals petroleum. Petroleum cannot be used right from the ground. Instead, it must be refined or separated into fuels and other products. So refined means separated. Gasoline, jet fuel, home heating oil, diesel fuel, and kerosene are all refined oil products. Oil is used in many other products like plastics, medicines, cosmetics. So cosmetics means makeup, and paints. Some of the benefits of oil are that it doesn't cause as much air pollution as coal, and that it can be refined into so many different products. But oil has costs. First, it's difficult to find because it's located deep beneath the Earth's surface. Second, it's very expensive to pump out of the ground. Third, the refining process takes time and adds to the cost. Fourth, the U.S. uses much more oil than it produces, so we have to buy most of it from other countries. And of course, oil is non-renewable, so it will eventually run out. Natural gas. Natural gas forms from the same organisms that form petroleum. It's usually found floating above oil deposits. It's transported by pipelines and is often used to heat homes. Natural gas has several benefits. First, it doesn't need to be refined as much as oil does. Second, it's easy to transport in pipelines. Natural gas is very flammable, so gas companies must be very careful to avoid leaks or explosions. Like coal and oil, natural gas is non-renewable. Alternative energy, technology, and science. Non-renewable energy resources, coal, oil, and natural gas, will someday run out. Fortunately, there are other alternative energy sources. Alternative means another choice. Alternative energy resources are energy resources that can be used in place of fossil fuels. Most alternative energy resources are renewable, meaning they are naturally replaced in a short period of time. Power companies are working to develop alternative energy resources because they have many benefits. Solar energy, or energy from the sun, is in constant supply. In one day, the sun sends enough energy to the earth to power the entire world for 40 years. Solar energy does not cause pollution, and it will last for billions of years. Solar energy does have a few drawbacks, however. First, it's only available when the sun is shining, so a backup system is needed on a cloudy day and during the night. Second, solar energy is spread out over all the earth. To use it effectively, the energy needs to be collected and concentrated into a small area. Third, while houses can be fitted with solar power panels, the process is too expensive for many people. Most electric plants burn coal to boil water and create steam. Pressure of that steam turns the turbine, which generates electricity. Wind and water can be used to turn turbines I've also heard turbines, so you might hear it both ways, without having to burn a fossil fuel. This is what happens with windmills and hydroelectric plants. Wind power does not cause pollution, but it needs a constant flow of wind in order to work. As a result, wind farms are only built in areas that are nearly always windy, like North Dakota. Hydroelectric power uses flowing water to power turbines. Hydroelectric plants use a river that's been dammed. It's inexpensive once a dam is built, and it doesn't cause pollution. But dams cause change in the local environment, which some people say is too damaging. Geothermal energy uses steam trapped below Earth's surface to heat homes. It's an unlimited energy resource, and it doesn't cause pollution. Unfortunately, only certain places on Earth have access to this type of energy because a geothermal plant can only be built in areas where magma has collected near Earth's surface. Biomass fuels are matter that were recently alive, like wood, leaves, and corn stalks. Scientists are developing ways to convert these waste products into alcohol, which can be mixed with gasoline to make gasohol. This would reduce our reliance on gasoline for cars. Scientists are also working to develop hydrogen power, which would burn without pollution and give off pure water as a byproduct. For now, though, producing electricity with hydrogen costs too much money to be worthwhile. So maybe one of you someday will be an awesome scientist and solve that problem. This week's question, what is nuclear energy? Nuclear energy is an alternative energy resource that uses the energy stored in the nucleus of an atom. Nucleus of an atom, the center. That energy is released in a process called nuclear fission. Nuclear power doesn't use fossil fuels. It has some costs. First, it uses radioactive materials, which are very dangerous to humans. Workers at nuclear power plants must be very careful. Second, if a nuclear reaction becomes uncontrolled, there's a possibility that dangerous radiation could leak into the ground and air around the nuclear power plant. Third, nuclear power plants create toxic waste which must be buried very deep in the earth to prevent it from harming living things. Because of the risks, nuclear power plants are not as popular as they once were. Although they are still used to generate 21% of the nation's electricity, our country is not building new nuclear power plants.